Welcome to Ordinary Teachers and Students, where we get to hear teachers and students tell us their extraordinary stories. My hope is that through this podcast, ordinary teachers from around the world can relate to the stories they hear and get some timely suggestions and ideas. My name is Alan Cheng, and I'm a life coach as well as a university lecturer. My vision is to make life coaching a part of every school. Right, today I'm delighted to invite Simon Ng onto this podcast. So Simon was born in Hong Kong and moved to the UK with his family when he was just 10 years old. He returned to Hong Kong and has since trained to become a primary school teacher. Currently, he's an English teacher at a primary school in Hong Kong. It's going to be really intriguing to see how his experiences of living in both Hong Kong and the UK has shaped his views of education. So let's welcome Simon. Hi, Simon.
Hello.
How are you
Hello.
today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, he told me just before we started that he's a little bit sick, but he was still keen to do it. So thank you for that, Simon.
Yes, it's okay.
Anything to add to that intro? Anything else you want our audience to know about you?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's quite a drastic change to move from Hong Kong to UK, but it took some time to get used to the culture and
Yeah.
kind of the traditions and the way the school works in UK. Obviously, in Hong Kong, it's a lot more intense in terms of the curriculum and more homework, whereas UK is more laid back. But yeah, I think it was quite a change that I wouldn't. If I have a second chance to look back into my life, I would still make the same sort of move if I have the choice to make this decision. Yeah.
That's always a good sign. So which part of the UK did you go to then?
So I moved to Cardiff in Wales.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a decision made by my mum because she got a job there. So she took everyone, the whole family there.
Do you speak any Welsh then?
Well, I tried to learn. I mean, it was compulsory for us to learn between year 7 to year 9.
Oh, it is. I didn't know that. I thought it was just in primary school. Okay.
Yeah, but then when it gets to year 10, you have the option whether you want to take Welsh for GCSE, which I didn't. Instead, I took French as for GCSE, and I actually enjoyed it. I mean, I always enjoyed the languages, and I just thought Welsh is more like Wales, who can speak Welsh, the language, whereas French is quite a lot of countries speak it. So that's why I French.
Yeah, sure. It must have been difficult though, because you were learning Welsh from zero, really, just right from the start. It must have been quite tough.
Oh yes, it was very tough, but I think it's because I don't think Welsh was quite drilled in terms of into the curriculum in primary school anyway for the local Welsh students there. So they kind of at the same step as me, unless obviously they went to a Welsh primary school.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that. So I guess if we zoom in on the teaching part then, so what made you want to become a teacher in the first place?
Well, let me just explain a little bit about my background, because obviously I've studied psychology in university, so I was graduating with a psychology degree. And because in my university, we get to kind of touch on different aspects of psychology, like social, like clinical, like biological. And I kind of have more passion into social psychology, kind of looking at, or even child psychology. So looking into like how kind of like different people interact, how a child can grow, differently from other people. So I was kind of had a little passion in kind of looking into child's growth sort of thing. So that's why I kind of wanted to get a job to be able to do something with children. Doesn't necessarily have to be a but it was what I ended up with, because I felt like this is kind of like the frontline worker where you have the most time with the children if you are a teacher. So that's why I went into teaching when I came back to Hong Kong.
Yeah, sure. Were there other options on your mind then? So just now you said you just wanted to do some work related to work where you can work with children, right? Did you consider other options apart from teaching?
I was considering going, pursue a further on with psychology degree in terms of getting a master and doctorate, etc. But then I think that maybe my passion is not so much about psychology, but it's more to do with kind of looking at a particular aspect of psychology, which, like I explained earlier, because obviously when you get to master or doctorate, it's not just studying about social or child. You still have to go through the stream of different psychologies. But this is the one that I'm kind of passionate about, and I wanted to kind of put the theory and concept that I've learned in my bachelor degree into practice then.
Sure, thanks. I didn't mention this in the introduction, but I basically met you when you were training to become a teacher, right? And that was 2 years ago?
Yes, 2 years.
So you've since been working as a primary school teacher. So you've worked as a primary school teacher for 2 years now, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yes.
So how's it been so far? So I think right now you're the first teacher that I've interviewed who is more towards the start of their career. So I'd be very interested to hear your experience so far.
Well, because I think I didn't mention this before, but I actually, when I came back to Hong Kong, I was unfortunate in finding a teacher's job because obviously to apply for a teacher, you need a lot of experience and even a qualified degree sort of thing. So I started working as a teaching assistant.
Okay.
In my first year, and then moving to being a net teacher in my second year. Before then, I went into full-time PGDE. So actually, if you consider this, it's kind of my 4th year of working. But that my passion for teaching is still there, I think. And actually, getting to, because I've been as a role for a teaching assistant and net teacher, and now I'm a local primary school teacher. I kind of know what what's the word kind of know what I need in order to bring out a good sort of lesson, because obviously be a good teacher you will need obviously a lot of different things like good materials, which teaching assistant I kind of learned lots of different skills and techniques from that. So I think people think of a teaching assistant as if they're only an assistant. There's a lot of things that I've actually learned from that year as well, working as a teaching assistant, knowing what kind of materials is engaging for the students to participate in the lessons. And now I can use that skills and knowledge and to help me now with the 2 years that I have now after I've graduated from my PGD.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I know a few teachers who were they started as teaching assistants, and I really appreciate how much you took kind of what you learned from that experience onto your own teaching. So I think that's really good, really good. I guess my next question would be, do you see yourself working as a teacher in the long term? So the one reason I'm making this podcast is hopefully to encourage people first to get into education, but also to maintain that passion to stay in education. So
yes, I would say in the long term, well, at least for the next 10 years, I'd say. It's because I feel like there's something from teaching that I get that I don't get from any other jobs, because I feel like obviously it's because I look at it as because I have passion for child's growth, obviously. So I want to be there to influence them. So I kind of want to be there to see them grow from a little kindergartens, moving from and then get to my school, and then go into a second school that they want to go to, etc., etc. And these kind of things, like helping people, obviously you get it from other jobs like doctors, for example. But I think that the angle is kind of different in terms of you're just with doctors, you're helping them because they have problems. But with teachers, it's more like you are always there for them. You are like a guidance for them to go all the way through. So what kind of direction they take, it kind of you kind of have some sort of the influence on them as well. Yeah, so I really like teaching in that sort of sense. Yes.
Yeah, I can tell from the way you speak about it, and also that's a very interesting comparison with doctors. I never thought of that. True. Patients only go to doctors when they really need help, whereas teachers, we have to help everyone really in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So next part of the podcast is basically where we take a deep dive into a topic, an area of education that you feel fascinated about or passionate about. Was there anything that was on your mind that you wanted to talk about?
Well, because recently I had different workshops and talks, and they were talking about AIs actually.
That's
Because
a very interesting
yeah,
topic.
yeah, because they were thinking, they were saying that AI might replace a lot of jobs, but there's a problem with, kids using AI to do their homeworks and do their assignments. And so what sort of, level that we can take, or where's the borderline for them to, use AI, those sort of
Sure.
thing. Yeah.
Maybe if we start with how much have you used in terms of AI in your own work so far?
Well, to be fair, with my work, I only use it to check the coherence of, my exam papers and make sure that it kind of brings a flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I think with the curriculum, that because it's different for every schools, and so I think that it's quite hard to use AI to generate the whole paper without putting your own efforts in it. So I kind of use it as more like a support rather than fully rely on it.
Is it like ChatGPT that you use, or do you use like other AI bots?
Yes, GPT, yes.
Right, sure. And does your school have, so obviously you said you've attended workshops yourself. Was it like a compulsory thing, like kind of the whole school attended it, or was it just that you were interested in it and so you decided to go out and listen to some workshops about it?
Yeah, it was the whole school that needed to participate because it was for Teachers Development Day.
Yep, sure. And right now, does your school, if you don't mind telling, does your school have any kind of regulations regarding AI use, whether it's for teachers or students?
Not really, no. We are quite free in terms of whether we want to use it or not. There's no really strict regulations. But there is this talk, the person in the talk, and the spokesperson was saying that actually a principal that doesn't know how to use AI to jam the school letters will be replaced by a principal that knows how to use AI to jam school letters, because the amount of time that they invest in making something will be a lot less if you know how.
Did you go and talk to your principal about how he or she felt?
Well, she was there, so I don't know how she felt about it, but I think it's kind of true. I mean, you do use less time if there's some support there to help you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, how about you yourself? Like on a personal level, have you played around a lot with it, or you're like kind of what's your current experience of AI yourself?
Well, at the moment, because I am studying a master's degree at the moment, so I use it mainly for academic purposes. But I know there's lots of
academic
my friends,
purposes, meaning doing your homework.
Well, not really doing my homework, but just checking grammars, really. But in terms of so I know some of my other friends, they actually use it for enjoyments, like generate a picture that from scratch, and or even a lot of a lot of people nowadays, they kind of like generate a singer's voice in something like that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun stuff going out there.
Yeah, so I mean, those are kind of for enjoyments, which I haven't looked into it yet, but I think it's quite interesting to kind of look into it further. Yeah.
Right, sure. And like your personal point of view then on AI in education, how do you see it, particularly within a primary school setting? Like, so obviously you're a primary school teacher. I'd love to hear your views on that. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, at the moment, I can't really tell if my students are using AI or not. But I think using AI, at least they have this decency to actually go on and actually have to, like, they kind of have to spot their problems first, because if they didn't realize there was a problem, I'm sure that they wouldn't, because usually a lot of the creative task like writing is done in school, so that stops them from kind of things at home.
Yeah.
But I think if they use it for, correcting their mistakes or getting to know more as if, oh, why am I wrong in this aspect, or why am I wrong in a particular area, then I think it's okay for me. I mean, they are learning from another tool, not just from the teachers.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a fair point. Like, so what you said just now kind of also reminds me, like, one way of teaching or improving students' writing is actually showing them like good samples, right? And so, in fact, they can generate good samples themselves, or you as a teacher can generate samples for them to give them, oh, this is kind of the standard that you want them to achieve in writing, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you talked to your students about the topic of AI so far?
No, not yet. But I do think that they kind of want to know more about AI, sort of thing. A lot of days now, I think but students and children in general, they kind of touch on, using technologies a lot early on back in my generations.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't really, even go on the internet until when I get to about P3, P4, so year 3, year 4. Whereas kids nowadays, they know how to get on YouTube like kindergartens. So
yeah, true. I would also be interested in the sentiment amongst your colleagues. So I'm sure you've, like, particularly after attending that workshop, you probably had a chance to chat with colleagues about just the topic of AI. Like, what's the general sentiment amongst your colleagues?
I think they are actually quite interested in it, especially the older generations, because it's something that they have never experienced before. Obviously, there's going to be lots of time invested in learning how to use it, but the outcome have kind of interested them to get to know further about stuff like this. Because obviously, not just using it for teaching purposes, but when you come to making materials or even designing your lesson plans, a lot of the things that the AI can, the input, the ideas that they give you is actually something that I've never thought of. Like recently, I was teaching a unit on sea creatures, and I typed it on ChatGPT, asking them to give me some activities to do. And actually, there's something called animals yoga. Different yoga with
that's quite
animals.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes, which
Quite
I've never thought of. So there's something yeah, they do give interesting ideas.
Yeah, well, it's nice to hear that, first of all, you're so open to the idea, but also even the, like you said, maybe the more experienced and older generation are also quite receptive to this idea of AI. I guess one last question to ask you, quite a challenging one, I would say. Like 5 years down the line, where do you see it? Like, what do you see into the future? Given that you have some knowledge of AI, what yeah, I guess my question is, what changes do you expect in the next 5 years in terms of how AI might be integrated into the education system, again, particularly within primary schools or even within your subject?
That's a very interesting one. Well, the thing is, the problem with Hong Kong is because it's quite the resources are quite limited. Because from the school that obviously I'm quite lucky to be in a private school where the children are kind of blessed. They all have their own devices, gadgets.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But in schools that are not so, blessed with the fundings and the money that they have for the device, then that's another issue. But in 5 years' time, let's say if everybody can afford a device, I do think that BYOD, bring your own device, will be integrated into the lessons a lot more deeper than now. Because at the moment, a lot of the schools are still using papers, hard copies to give out homeworks and assignments. But maybe in 5 years' time, who knows? It could be homeworks online, and then teachers mark it on so that the students can see it immediately rather than waiting for the next day or over the weekend or etc.
So getting immediate feedback, or even like the topic of AI, right? So maybe they can get assistance from AI immediately during the lesson too, right? Yeah, that is an interesting thought. Great, thank you for that. Are you ready to move on to the quick fire questions? So for these, it's going to be rapid questions fired at you, and you can try to be concise if you can.
Yes.
So if you're ready, The first question
Yes.
will be, how would your very cute students describe you?
I think they describe me as friendly, although I do shout a lot, but yeah, friendly and a warm-hearted teacher, because I don't just teach them, but if they have competitions and if they're willing to invite me to go and watch them play sports, music, I do go and watch them if I have the time as well.
Yeah, it's actually very nice always to see them outside of your own classroom setting. Yeah. Great. Next one. What's your favorite go-to activity in the classroom?
Go-to activity is probably what I do teach my vocabulary a lot with Hangman.
Hangman. Love Hangman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even when people like year 6, they still enjoys, the Hangman. I mean, it's just a game that everybody enjoys in primary school,
I
apparently.
sometimes do it in secondary school too.
Yeah, I think it's just a way for them to kind of critical think about what kind of word is this,
Yeah, yeah. How about online tools? Are there any online tools or resources that you most frequently use?
Oh, I've actually used quite a lot of online tools, especially because I'm doing a master degree now, and I've
Yeah.
got a professor. He's so good with his online tools, so I've been getting some ideas from him. So the ones that I've used mostly are Kahoot, which is so the students understanding through games, and one is Word War.
Word
Word War
War.
quite a lot. Word War, yeah, WORDWALL. Yeah, I use it for like stuff like random wheels, or even like there's one where you have to match the words to the meaning, so it's like a
Right.
matching game sort of thing. So there's a lot of there, and then finally Padlets. Obviously, I use Padlets so that they can have a platform where students can share their ideas, not just getting the answers and ideas from the teacher like me, but can actually get from their peers, yeah, so that they can give each other some comments and feedbacks. And I think that's a quite good online tool as well.
Yeah, actually, I really like Padlet because, like you said, I like, you know how you sometimes ask a question in class, right? There's only ever one person answering, whereas if you do a Padlet, like everyone gets a chance to contribute an answer. So yeah, I think thank you for all those suggestions. I will include them in the show notes. And I guess next question is related to teachers' well-being. What do you think is something that can be done about teachers' well-being in terms of improving teachers' well-being?
I think the main concern for Hong Kong teachers at the moment is work-life balance. Because in Hong Kong we have lots and lots of summative and formative assessments and lots of the homeworks and exams. And I think that teachers, they only have their free time over the weekend and holidays. But holidays, we're talking about once every 2 to 3 months, because we are not blessed to have half term like the ones in. So we only have like a big holiday where we actually get to take a rest maybe every couple of months. And I think at the moment, I think a lot of the teachers, they are so stressed because the demands from not just students, but from the parents as well, a lot more than before, in terms of asking for more homework, for more assessment.
It's a very Hong Kong thing, isn't it? That like
Yeah,
parents asking for more homework. So if the child is idle during the holidays, they feel that there's something wrong.
yeah, and the saddest thing is some students, they even get like stuff like exercise books for the birthday presents.
Oh no,
So like
that is
this is
horrendous.
so it's I think this is something that we need to be stressed, emphasize about with work-life balance, is how to get a good work-life balance and not needing to check emails after you finish work, you go home. And I know a lot of the teachers, they would even take work home to mark the books or exam papers, which I really, really against this idea. But I do it myself, but I'm really against it. Because obviously home is the home where you relax yourself, you do the things that you want to do. So I think that we should, completely put this into black and white. We should not, integrate the two areas together.
Yeah. So, my question, maybe just a quick follow-up question, is anything particularly that you do to achieve your own work-life balance?
Well, first of all, I do try to set a time where I try to leave before that time, which is usually, I'd say, 5 o'clock.
Right.
After 5, maybe I just need to go home, even though if I don't finish all the work. But I do try to, not, go home any later than this. But then apart from that, is to do lots of exercise, sports.
Yeah.
I love sports myself, so I do play badminton, football with my friends. And even if I don't do sport, I would just, arrange some time just to chill with my friends, have dinner, and listening to music when I'm at home on my own. And occasionally, if I do have the time, then I would just maybe, sit down, 5 minutes to myself, just, thinking through, reflect on what I've done during the day, just kind of like a meditation sort of session.
Wow.
Which
That's a
I
very
remember
interesting thing to do. Yeah.
Yes, which I remember you doing for your lesson for PGD.
Yeah, I love meditations. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for all that. Any funny or strange or scary or touching moments that happened in your classroom? So I'm sure as a primary school teacher, there must be plenty of these kind of moments.
Because this is an interesting question, because obviously there's many, but if you ask me a particular one, I would say it's sometimes some of the things that we say or some of the things that we do as a teacher, we kind of undermines the power that it has or the effect that it has on the students. Like, for example, today, one of the touching moments is that today, when I was teaching a lesson, I saw that there was a little piece of paper inside the one of my students' pencil case. And that piece of paper is a gift that I gave her last year as a birthday. And it's basically a quote, because I have this quote of the day calendar.
Right.
So I gave her, it's just some empowering quotes, reach for your dreams, stuff like this. And so I want to empower them through, words. So I gave it to her last year as a birthday present, and I can't believe that she still got it now in her pencil case, just to remind herself, to motivate herself. And I think that's she's only a primary school student, but she's being able to kind of think through this and actually use this as a motivation to drive her through quizzes and exams, which I think is quite touching.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm really touched by that. Like you said, sometimes maybe we underestimate the impacts that we have on students, whether it be the things that we do for them or just the words that we choose to say to them, right? Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. The last quick fire question is whether you have a question for me, because obviously I've asked you lots and lots of questions.
I think a question that I've asked, which I think I've asked before, but I think is a question that I do respect you for doing this, is your change of career, going from, if it was business before, working with numbers, to working with people. And now obviously taking it one step further to having your own coaching business. What is the actual motivation to be able to do everything?
Wow, that's a big question. I guess my first response to that is I do follow my gut instinct a lot. So when I make a big decision, I do really just deep down inside of me, how does it feel? I would say the past few big decisions have been, it's involved my family. So right now, you don't have your own family yet. So I guess the decisions are easier when you don't have a wife or you have kids, because you are making it based on your own interests. And yeah, so I mean, for example, my decision to go from a business graduate to teaching, I think that actually felt quite easy at the time, because it was just like, oh, I just want to do something out of my comfort zone. Whereas the more recent decisions have been much more difficult, because they involved, okay, I need to do something for myself, but at the same time, I've got family to take care of. So I would say, of course, I need to take care of my family. At the same time, I guess one big factor is that I want to do something that I feel excited about. I think that's really important. So I just want to feel excitement. I want to enjoy my work. I want to be able to impact other people. So yeah, that's a very long answer to your question.
Yes, I do respect it. I mean, it's a major change, going from business side of career
Yeah,
to
yeah,
where you are. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes when you look back, it's interesting. Sometimes you can see kind of almost a thread because I was a business graduate, right? I put that to one side,
Mm.
taught for many years, but then I'm kind of using some of that business knowledge again now while setting up my own coaching business. So yeah, when you look back, it kind of makes sense sometimes.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. My final question for you, it is simply, obviously you now, as you said, you've got 4 years of teaching experience now. So
Mm.
I'm just thinking for people out there who might still be trading as teachers or who might be considering to become a teacher, what advice would you have for them?
Um, I mean, first of all, to kind of know um your ultimate goal, really. I mean, when I was when I came back to Hong Kong, first of all, I just knew that I wanted to work with children, but
Mm,
there's still a lot of jobs offering,
mm,
and even though I wanted to be a teacher, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, a primary school
mm,
teacher, secondary school teacher, etc. So I think it's important to kind of know your direction, your goal, and
mm,
I think it's important that you don't lose that passion,
mm,
and you always find something. It's important to set short-term goals and long-term goals, obviously.
mm,
And I think as well as the long-term goals, those short-term goals are the ones that I think is most integral is the most crucial ones to you, because it kind of drives you, to go through each day, carrying on, even if you have some obstacles, putting you down, but you still have the power to drive through each day. And I think the the new teachers, they kind of have to know this and be able to set some short-term goals themselves. Yeah.
Very useful advice. Yeah. And so it's been so much fun talking to you, Simon. I just want to say that from this conversation, really took out like two P's that you talked about. One was purpose and one was passion, because I can feel that your story, um, even from a young age, it seems like you were interested in people. You were interested in understanding more about humans. And then you found your purpose in, okay, I want to work with children, I want to help them develop, right? And that's why you got into teaching. And at the same time, I can feel the passion that you have for education. Like it's very, very important, right? Passion in our industry to just to keep going, because some people lose their passion. Some people um think, oh, like what's happened to my life? Like I don't know what I'm doing. And so they lose their purpose and passion at the same time.
Mm.
So right now I feel you have both of them. And so that's why it's been, yeah, really, really inspiring and fun talking to you. Thank you for coming on to our podcast.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. After speaking to Simon, on the way home, Spotify auto-played a podcast from my favorite psychologist, Adam Grant, and the topic was magically about AI. So the reason I'm mentioning this, apart from it being a bit creepy, was that I noticed a commonality in terms of the attitude towards AI. Just now, I feel Simon and his colleagues, they appear quite proactive and ready to embrace the challenges that AI will bring to education. They are learning about it, they are experimenting with it, and they're seeing how it might complement their day-to-day work. The topic of AI is huge, and I'm sure I'll have further conversations with future guests on this podcast. So I hope you enjoyed listening to Simon's extraordinary story. And please do join us again next time on Ordinary Teachers and Students.